All right, so here we are, Succession, Season 4 finale, series finale. That's it. It's done. What a time it's been reviewing this. Thank you guys all for watching all these reviews this whole season. It really blew by. This series blew by in a good way. You know, they say good times, they go fast. But what a finale. What an end to this series here. Nick and I haven't really talked about it. Obviously, Nick did a little live stream after the episode, which had a lot of traction. Good stuff. Great commentary from the people, Nick.
Yeah, it was cool. It was a cool thing. We might do more live streams. I might do like little weekly ones or something. I don't know.
It's fun getting the community involved with the questions and stuff.
Yeah. It's always a good
the
time.
energy. But now we've come down. It's been a few days.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you've watched this episode multiple times. Listened to the podcast.
I have.
Yeah, I mean, an hour and a half episode with open eyes, it was called. And there's a cool poster they released for this final episode.
With Logan.
Yeah, with Logan. But I kind of like it because the city's like fading away. You know, it's a really cool art. Let's just pick it up, I guess, where we left off. We had Logan's funeral last episode. Mm-hmm. It ends, and basically, at least Kendall, Roman's kind of teetering. He's obviously emotionally unstable.
At the end of the episode or the end of the funeral?
The end of the episode. Oh, yeah.
He runs off into the crowd of protesters.
I know, but I'm saying, he's mentally unstable. But I'm saying that Kendall is pretty much Kendall versus Shiv. That's how he ends it. He says to Roman, how about the Roy boys versus the Shiv the Shiv? And then we bump into this episode, and they're like, where's Roman? Roman's off, obviously leaving in there. We thought maybe he would die in that last scene there, but obviously he came out. He's all right.
Yeah.
But they find out that they get a call from their mom, and he is in the Caribbean with her on her little getaway.
She set something up.
Yes.
That, like, she was going to have a dinner or something, and she's already invited all of them.
Yep. And
she calls Shiv and says, are you going to be able to make it? And Shiv's like, well, is Roman there?
Yeah.
Because they need Roman the vote.
Right.
So at the beginning of the episode, Shiv is still on board. She thinks she's going to be CEO, so she needs Roman to vote in favor. And, go ahead, go. I've done 2 hours of talking about this, so I want to hear your thoughts.
Kendall and Shiv run off, obviously, to get Roman, and he just doesn't want to be a part of it anymore, clearly. He just wants this all to be over with. And they kind of have this back and forth, whatever. But then we switch to Tom. Tom has a meeting with Mr. Matson. Now, Tom, before this meeting, is like asking Greg, I'm going to get fired. Like, do you know I'm going to get fired? He's pretty much thinks he's done.
Mm-hmm.
Sits down with Matson and finds out that Matson actually wants him to be the American puppet CEO.
Yeah, the pain sponge.
Didn't see this coming because this entire season, in a good way, has totally made us think Tom had no shot, right?
Okay, so
the way Shiv was talking about him and the way Matson was talking about him.
I have insider information.
Okay.
So, well, I don't really. I listened to the podcast afterwards, the after show podcast. And the Skarsgård, who plays Matson, was interviewed. And he kind of revealed how he picked Tom.
Okay.
And in episode 9, there's when Greg shows up and he says, "Hey, sexy, how you doing?" All that stuff, right? And then, when Matson's talking to Shiv and she goes, or Matson says, "Where's the hubby?" or whatever, and Shiv says he's working.
Yeah.
That was apparently the moment where he realized, like, wow, you're gonna miss Logan Roy's funeral
to work.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
Like, you're committed. You know what I mean? Oh, when I heard that in the podcast, everything,
it all clicked.
It made me feel like such a moron for sitting here saying it's not Tom. Mm-hmm. Because we've been saying, like, oh, it can't be Tom. Probably not gonna be Greg, but it'd be cool if it was Greg.
Yeah.
Like, and I knew they'd catch me somewhere. That to me is like one of the only highlights of the episode was the fact that they duped me there, and there was something that we could have realized that we didn't.
Right.
Which makes it brilliant in my opinion. But go ahead.
Well, and also during this conversation, Matson tests Tom right before he says that, and he's like, "Listen,
dude, I thought it was so messed up.
Yeah,
it was such a messed up." He tells him
to his face, this own guy, that he wants to bang his wife.
I'll put it to you this way: if I was Tom, I would not have been CEO.
and I thought Tom might stand up for himself in this point, but I think the bottom line is Tom is so removed from Shiv emotionally now that he was just like, I'm not gonna even bother doing this. And then the test works. He doesn't speak up to Matson, and I think that definitely is the final click for Matson, that I can say whatever I want to this guy. I can make him do whatever I want.
Yeah, he literally says,
Yeah.
he goes, I think it would be awkward if Shiv was CEO because I want to fuck her. That's
Right.
like what he says.
Yeah.
And he goes, I feel like, is that awkward for you? Like, I feel like that's
Yeah.
awkward. And he goes, Tom's response to that question is so Tom.
Yeah.
It's so perfect. It's so Tom Wamsgans. Like, he literally says, no, we're both men.
Yeah.
Like, what does that mean?
Yeah. Yep. He's just trying to save
so
face for
good.
his own career at
But
that
it's such
point.
a Tom answer. Like,
It is.
Oh, it's so funny. Go ahead.
But in a weird way, you know, we made fun of Tom for a while throughout this series for kind of being the suck up. But then at the end, like, the sucking up kind of paid off.
Yeah.
In this way. But I think, you know, I think back after this episode on the end of season 3, when obviously in Italy, they find out basically that someone told Logan and his wife or his ex-wife that they were coming, that the Roys were coming to challenge him, right? No one knows who it was, and then Tom walks through. And you see Logan put his hand on his shoulder, and you have that great Michael and Kay like scene with Shiv and Tom. And that, to me, looking back at that moment, was like Logan appointing Tom. I know that Logan didn't choose Tom, but from a visual, like, storytelling standpoint, looking back at that, it's interesting. And I think Logan did have respect for Tom because he took the fall he was willing to go to prison. And Logan says to him when he says this, I'll remember this. So
yeah, but I think, I mean, Matson, the reason he didn't choose Shiv, because he said it in the meeting with Tom, and it was really, it is a cool moment. It seems it's so graphic the way that that he says the stuff about Shiv, like, that are so shocking to hear someone tell someone that he wants to, sleep with their wife, that you can kind of overlook it. But he literally says, I saw how Shiv was going to screw me over. She was very aggressive about the India thing.
Yeah.
So because of that, like, that's why I'm not doing it. Like,
and it
you
was
know what
a
I mean?
petty
She
thing.
screwed herself. Yeah, but like, he saw the potential. Like, yes, it's one thing, like, for you to be on my side, but now I see that you have something on me.
Yeah.
You're
It's
out,
also the reason he didn't choose Roman or Kendall, too, is because he knows he couldn't control them.
Yeah.
Any of those kids.
We'll be back in 1 second. I'm going to switch RJ's camera around real quick. When I put the two, so that's the thing, right? Is that Matson literally says, I don't need a partner. I need a pain sponge. And when he says pain sponge, it's so good.
Yeah.
It's so good. He says pain sponge so that he can get under, but he doesn't actually define, like, what it is that he does for a living. He goes, when I get under the hood so I can.
Yeah.
And it's like, what the fuck does that mean?
What does that mean?
Like,
Yeah.
What are you
It's
going to do?
very ambiguous with that stuff.
Very, yeah. I just thought that was super interesting. And then, and I mentioned this in the live stream, but it is like watching it back again and again. It's like the coolest moment. Was Greg with the translator thing?
Just Greg being Greg, what he's done for 4
but
seasons.
He's so sneaky.
Yeah.
Like, it was so good. That was so good.
And then, so obviously, after that happens, Tom tells Greg is that they're going to be fine.
Yes.
He doesn't tell Greg that he's going to be CEO.
And when he's listening to the translation, it doesn't say
also
Tom
doesn't
either.
mean that.
Right.
So I feel like Greg's move would have been different if he had known it was Tom. But Greg goes into the bathroom. He calls Kendall. He says, listen, they're interviewing other alternative CEOs. Kendall tells Shiv. Shiv gets pissed off. Obviously, she gets screwed over by Matson. And that brings the 3 siblings together for about, like, 20 minutes.
We also find out
20 minutes.
We also find out when they verify that the guy who used to run Walter,
Lawrence
was interviewed to be CEO as well. So it's like he's been at this for a while.
Right.
He's been looking around for a while.
And that's why in the car when he called Shiv, he doesn't say her. He says an American CEO.
And I said this to you.
Yeah.
I go, he didn't say Shiv either. I was
Right.
like, oh, Jesus. He didn't say who it was.
Yeah.
But he also, the way that it's confirmed is that I think it's Carolina.
Yeah, they don't say who he's on the phone with.
No.
Which was interesting.
Sends Shiv the the announcement, the publicity statement.
And it's like blanked
XXX.
out.
Yeah. It's just insert name here kind of deal, which I thought was interesting.
So this brings the Roy kids together. They have this. They go by the beach and they're talking. They're like, "Listen, we need to choose one person. Right?
Yes.
It's not a good look if we choose 3 or 2. We need to choose one person to get around. Kendall, obviously, Roman just doesn't want it at this point. He just doesn't.
He kind of does. I mean, well, he says he does, but I mentioned
but he
this
doesn't
earlier.
deep down. Yeah.
Right.
And Kendall just pitches, and he eventually convinces them that they're going to go with him for a time being. They crown him king. They have this great, funny scene where they're kind of kids again in the kitchen playing with, what's the guy's name? That their mom's, the stepfather's
the cheese. Oh, yeah. The cheese is great. The cheese is great.
I don't think we've ever seen them really laughing together, all smiling like this in that childlike manner.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it also juxtaposes that idea that they are children and just the way they act, just in normal. They're. But I thought this was a great scene. But what this scene told me was that this wasn't going to work out. Okay. The fact that it was very positive and they were all getting along to me was like, okay, so Kendall's definitely not going to win this.
Interesting. But you could have said that for the beach thing too. I love, first of all right, because I have a very low. I did not like this series finale. Okay,
you didn't like it?
Oh
wow! See, we haven't talked about this.
I know, and I've had some time because I had initial reactions to it, like okay, whatever, it's fine. The more I think about it, the more time I've had since the Sunday stream. I just like it less and less.
Oh wow!
And not because of, but like. The overall thing I liked, right? Like I liked that it was Tom. I liked that it was that we ended these characters. I feel like they could have. It felt cheap. That's what it was. It's the story to me that felt cheap.
Did you? Because I have most of the reception I've seen has been positive. People
liked it.
But I have the critiques I have seen were that it felt a bit like they sped toward the end. Is that how you feel?
I feel like there were too many loose ends, and I feel like they went too slow and then too quick.
Okay. Well, like what loose ends?
What happens with the election?
But see, that doesn't matter.
It could matter.
But I don't think it matters.
Well, it doesn't matter because what happens with the
But to me, like,
because Tom's gonna be Nerd Soup said this right before you walked in. I was watching Nerd Soup on this, and they were saying how They made a great point. They were like, Tom's only going to be there for 6 months while Lucas makes all his moves, and then he's not going to be CEO either.
See, I don't think so.
Why?
Because I think Tom's probably going to do a decent job because I think he knows he's willing to accept when people are better at his job than him. And that's why he's keeping Jerry around and Carolina, and he's bumping. I think he's going to put a good support group around. He's not going to be Logan, but I think he's going to know who to relegate things to. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like you see him when he walks in after the vote goes 7-6.
When Tom comes around the corner with the people behind him, he's never looked bigger than that. Like he looked
exactly.
amazing.
So I think Tom is up for the challenge. I do. As long as he has the right people around him. And I think as long as he does what Matson says and stays in good relations to him, why not? Why would Matson want to remove him?
That's fair.
You know what I'm saying?
I just felt like, so did it need to be an hour and a half?
You didn't like it that long?
I'm asking.
Sped by to me.
Did it need to be an hour?
Considering how much was
if you removed this, so they have like 2 fun scenes. Okay,
yeah.
You have the typical Succession scene, which I feel like was the water, and then they agree that it's going to be him. And if you would cut right from them floating near the platform with Kendall on the platform, right? If you just like cut right from that and skipped the kitchen scene, and they were just leaving the next morning.
Yep. But I like the kitchen scene.
I'm not saying I didn't like the kitchen scene.
Okay.
I'm asking what's needed. That's what I'm saying. Was it a needed scene? Did it drive anything in the story at all?
Yeah, because I think this scene makes them all going against each other in the room hit harder. Because you're watching the scene, you're like, shit, like this is the closest they've ever been.
I'm not trying to argue. I'm saying for me, though, it didn't, because I knew that like one little thing goes wrong, like Shiv gets a present that she doesn't like, the scorpion thing, and now she's going to screw everybody, including her husband, over.
Right.
Speaking of that, I want your opinion on where, let's pretend that there's a season 5 that doesn't exist, but just for the characters' lives, where does why?
Well, I was going to save that for the end. I had some questions.
Oh, fair enough. Fair enough. All right, let's continue. We'll wrap up the synopsis.
I was just going to say, what was the other scene? Is the other scene that you thought was like a fun scene when they watch Logan on the tape?
So that was, to me, that was the most impactful, best scene in the whole series.
Oh, see, now to me, I think that scene was unnecessary.
I loved it. I
Really?
loved every second of it because it was they're walking around doing the stickers on everything. So how cool is this? This is another moment, much like the Kendall rap moment, where they did one take.
Yes,
and that was
yeah.
So I just heard it on the thing. Jeremy Mylod, whatever his Mark Mylod, was interviewed on the podcast, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
They filmed that dinner scene with Logan on an iPhone.
Oh, that's fun.
Sent it to editing. And the way that it worked out for them to have their locations, they only had that location there and in that apartment for that shoot for one day.
Yeah,
they filmed with Logan in the dining room, whatever, and then filmed this scene where they're watching Logan that same day in the afternoon.
That's cool.
Super cool.
Yeah, and that was Logan's birthday that they missed, right? At the beginning of the season.
Connor says that it was like a few weeks before. Or whatever. I don't know, but it was a little while back, but they didn't interact. So Brian Cox was not there with the kids at all, the actors. Yeah. Like they filmed everything on the same day, and that is the first take, their only take, their real reactions. Like that's what they used.
Oh, that's cool.
It was really cool. I mean, it's really impactful. I know you've seen it on the Wilco Instagram. There's a little clip from it on there. I just recently interviewed my grandfather about his life.
Yeah.
Just, before he kicks it. And I did a little like his birthday, some BTS stuff that I have from like 2 years ago for my grandfather's birthday. And like those home movie things, I think it really opens up to
brings
like
it down to earth.
Right, but this is Logan Roy that we're talking about. And the whole series has been there. Logan hasn't really had an arc. You know what I mean? He's just always this like...
You've had slowly more things revealed about why he is the way he is, but he as a person hasn't changed.
At all. Right. At all. And so this really shows an aspect of Logan's life that I love and admire, and is why I always give a little bit of leeway and a little bit of credence and a little bit of credit to people like Logan. Because I'm like, there's more to the story. Give it a second. You know what I mean?
So let's talk about your opinion on this finale.
Sure.
I'm curious. I want to know deeper why it. Not that you didn't like it, but why you weren't completely satisfied with it.
Well, I think the biggest critique is that the runtime was not needed, and it makes it feel cheap to me when they feel like there's stuff that's out of place.
So you're saying you would have been satisfied with this finale as long as they cut this kitchen scene out?
Yeah, I feel like the pacing would have been better. There wasn't enough for me, and I talked about this, and people rolled their eyes at me, and I was getting some flack in the chat on Sunday about it, which is totally justified, like to each their own, whatever. But it was a weird switch because it doesn't benefit. I don't believe. Are you talking
about Shiv?
Yeah, I don't believe that there's a good enough relationship there with Tom that she's gonna be like okay. Like I think Tom's gonna be like, I don't need you for your money anymore, and that's what he cares about, as he admitted in episode like 7 or 8.
So I agree with you. I think that Shiv's flip could have been set up better.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Like, but for me, I think it is how she says it, and I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that she was the last person to vote. Because
that's what I'm saying,
right? And I think if she was the second person to vote, the fact that it came down to her and everything kind of got put in her hands, like she was the one making that decision, I think affected her. And I do think that really she never thought Kendall would be it. You know what I'm saying? I think she kind of it's very easy to say it, but then when you are actually making that decision at the board meeting, I think it went through her head. And I think that she kind of, at least to me, has kind of accepted that, like, Lady Macbeth, like, she's going to be Tom's. At least she's still involved somewhat. You know? Because if Kendall, we were listening to the Nerd Soup podcast, shout out Nerd Soup, but they were saying, like, if Kendall became CEO, he said it in the other episode. He says, listen, I love my brothers and sisters, but I'm not in love with them. He says that to Hugo.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I don't.
Okay.
What?
Okay. I feel like Kendall is so much easier to manipulate than Tom would be. You know?
Not from Matson's perspective.
I'm saying like from Shiv. Like Tom is not.
Yeah, but Shiv
Tom's
and Roman
wouldn't
have any power if he was CEO.
But he's still the brother.
Yeah.
And if Roman wanted to be on the board again, you can pull it. You can pull at Kendall's heartstrings. We've seen that Kendall is manipulatable, is what I'm saying. They just, I guess, Shiv decided that if she can't be it, then nobody can be it. I guess I don't know. It was a weird moment because of the wonderful things he did. I'm just kidding. Because we just had these great 2 scenes of how much they all love each other and everything. How does it make sense that she flips? That's why it doesn't make sense. Now, if it had been see, you know what? Okay, can I tell you what I think would have been more interesting?
Yeah.
If they're all on board and Stewie fucks them over.
Yeah, that would have been long.
That could have been super interesting. Okay, and then it's revealed that Stewie had this other deal with something else.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. Like, whatever. That would have been more interesting. But even Stewie is on board. Like, even, like, all these people that you think are going to screw Kendall and the kids over and everything. Nope, it's Shiv. And it just...
No, that's a very fair criticism.
It was just bizarre.
I do think it was, like, jumped a bit where there could have been more in between, but to me,
that
like,
more
I didn't
that
think
you're
it was
talking
against
about,
her
so
character.
that more that could have been in between that you just said, I think we could have solved the setup in one scene. I would have been fine with it.
Yeah,
that's all I'm saying. All I'm saying.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
What if this season ended with the funeral? What if that was the last episode and it ends with Roman and Kendall teaming up against Shiv, and we had another season of this?
No, I don't. That thing is too much.
See, that's 1 or 2 episodes more, I think, works. But if you bump into a season, it crosses the line of too much.
It's
right.
Like,
So this was tough to do. You know what I'm saying? Could they have done another episode or 2, maybe, to set that up more? Part of me, I think, as much as I love that Tom and Matson scene, how good would it have been if all we found out was that he was interviewing someone else, and then the only time you find out it's Tom is when he turns the corner. You know, and no one knows.
Okay, that would have been. I think it would have been the
it would
greatest.
Have hit because you don't know who's coming around the corner, and it's just Tom, and then the music plays.
Yeah,
and they all turn their heads. And it's him.
That would have been such a reveal. Everybody would have shit themselves.
The reason that wouldn't have worked though is because as an audience member, we'd be like, well, why the hell did Matson choose Tom? You know what I'm saying? We needed that scene to understand why Matson chose him, but I do think the reveal itself would have been. It would have been more impactful, and for those who aren't satisfied with how it ended, that might have switched it a bit. But I think you needed that scene, because then we'd be sitting here saying, how did he pick Tom? He hates Tom, you know? It's tough. I mean, it's tough to end the series, and I don't think you're ever going to please everyone 100%. I don't think this is a perfect finale, but to me, I felt satisfied, and that's like all I can ask for when it comes to an ending.
I felt satisfied.
Okay.
I'm being a prick to be a prick. Like, that's what we do.
Yeah.
But like, and like, who the fuck am I in comparison to like Jeremy Armstrong?
Right.
Like, you know, maybe someday, but I'm just saying, like, I'm nothing in comparison. And especially with regard to his series, like, it's his series. He wrote it.
But
what?
Let's talk about what he said though, Jesse Armstrong, in regards to your loose ends thing.
Jesse Armstrong, yeah. Is it Jesse or Jeremy Armstrong?
Jeremy Strong is
Jeremy Strong, Jesse Armstrong.
Yes,
okay.
yeah.
I'm
so
sorry.
Jesse Armstrong said inside the episode, he said, yes, this could continue on, but he said that the story has always been about whether the kids are going to get it or not, and that's why, to me, the loose ends with the election don't matter. All that matters is the kids didn't get it. That's the end of the show. You know, they talk about, like, in screenwriting, like, when you get to the end of a feature and the character hits his goal, the movie's over. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So once they didn't get it, once Kendall loses and they're all out, the show is over. So that's why I was not thinking about the election at all. You know, in that sense.
I know, but we were okay.
And
I don't disagree, but we were at the end of last week.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because and then it's all of a sudden it's almost a similar. So instead of like when Logan dies and the way they all react to Logan dying, that's kind of how I feel about the show. It's just over. So it's like we had all these hopes and dreams. And all this, it's over.
Well, let's talk about how it ends, because it definitely ends with a lot to infer. It doesn't give you everything. So let's talk about each of these characters' endings here. We can start with
Shiv.
Tom and Shiv. So obviously their last scene together, Shiv gets in the car. She congratulates Tom. He's like, oh, no. And he puts his hand out. And you see that shift, the power dynamic. Just once Shiv was up top, now Tom is. And really...
Well, here he's in the...
Sure.
Here she's on top.
My question...
I would say that Shiv's in the palm of Tom's hand.
Yes, literally, yes. Do you think Shiv is now destined to be her mother?
Think about what you just said and ask me again. Is Shiv destined to be her mother?
Yes. Like...
Oh, to become
become her...
like... Sure.
Because now,
sure.
She's kind of married to the Logan.
Yeah,
she has the
she's
kid.
Nothing.
And he might probably get rid of her in 6 months.
I don't see why he wouldn't.
Right.
Wouldn't you? She has said throughout this entire series, all she has said is, I don't really love you. You're with me for my She has done nothing but emasculate and beat this guy down to nothing.
Yeah. Which makes me think, like, more back on what you're saying about her decision, because initially I'm like, oh, well, she probably would rather have Tom be CEO and be his wife. But then again, like, maybe if the relationship was on a better foot, that decision would have made more sense.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, that's a fit. No, that's fair.
Because now she's nothing to the company.
Right.
She's not even.
You're right. Yeah. That is fair.
She's out.
I think
she
if
has
there's
no
one
say
big
in
criticism,
anything.
that would be it.
Right.
Shiv, and I've seen a lot of talk about that.
I don't like this decision that
let's
she
talk
made. It was
about
weird and out of place.
I mean, it is something
Roman.
she'd do. I just think the development needed to be there.
How do you think Roman ended up?
Well, you get this weird smirk, like, what do you think it was? I think most people interpret it as, like, he's free.
Oh, yeah.
I think so, too.
Yeah.
It's he's what he was in the beginning of the show.
He's a playboy. He's
Yeah,
going to retire
he's
with his
removed.
billions.
Yeah.
He's going to be a bachelor, and he's going to screw a whole bunch.
Some
He's going to have
martinis.
gangbangs and martinis. And the martini thing is an interesting thing. I saw someone talk about how the martini is Jerry's favorite drink. Thought that was interesting. And that's what he orders, and he kind of smirks about it. So I mean,
they got a huge payout. None of these guys are going to be short of cash.
Oh, that's the thing, right? All three kids are multi-billionaires. Hundreds of whatever. Hundreds of millions at least.
And I think Roman deserved this ending. Like we said,
I think he's right where he's supposed to be as a character.
Yeah. I think the only reason Roman thought he wanted it is because Logan told him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He's throughout the entire series, whenever one of the kids is drifting away from Logan, he pulls them and he's like, you're the person.
100%.
You know what I'm saying? And he did that to Roman several times, and it tricked him into thinking he wanted it when he really didn't. And I think that's good for him. I'm glad he kind of got that happy ending. Well, let's talk about Kendall.
Can you imagine if you were Logan? Like, let's just say for the sake of conversation that there's like some sort of afterlife where you can see down onto the forget what you. I only say that because of like viewers and everybody's gonna have a different opinion about this kind of stuff. But if you're Logan, are you not rolling in your grave? You die, and 4 days later, your company's gone. It's just gone.
But did he care? Like Shiv said.
I think Waystar-GoJo is the only thing that Logan cared about.
Really?
I think it's the only thing he truly gave a shit about.
You would think, though, that he would have set it up better.
Yes, I know.
If he he cared about after he died.
The fact that he didn't have a full medical team on that plane with him when he was going to another country after he has a stroke in the very first episode is very bizarre to me.
Yeah.
The fact that he had these weird now listen,
stubborn.
If he had everything figured out, we'd have no show. That's what makes it a drama.
Yeah,
That's what makes it good.
Yeah.
So I'm not complaining about that. But you're right. I mean, this is his baby. He's created this empire from nothing. This poor boy from Scotland who had to sit there and stare at his brother. 3 days, two brothers communicating with their eyes. It's such a good moment. This kid came from nothing. Built an empire, and it's gone 3 days after he's gone. The company's gone too. Well, to this Swedish idiot. Like
to kind of go back to like about the kids and that whole little fight scene that they had, right?
Oh, it was so uncomfortable.
To mention Nerd Soup again, they had a great line, and I don't know if you got to it yet, but they said Logan raised 3 Fredos when he needed a Michael.
That's a great line.
And
shout out to Nerd Soup. That's a great line.
And it's true though, you know? And no one was Michael.
Yeah. That's true.
And I think like Roman says it, he says we're nothing. And I think in that moment Roman realizes like none of this shit matters and I don't want to be a part of it anymore.
If you think about it, just to kind of go off of that, Tom is kind of like a Michael. Different, hear me out. Michael's always very strong.
Yeah.
Okay, he's very, very strong-minded, strong-willed character. But the idea of Michael Corleone is that he is the one person in the family who wants no part of his father's business.
Yeah.
He wants nothing to do with it, and it goes to him.
Mm-hmm.
Tom is only looking out to keep his friggin' job.
Yeah.
He's not wanting to be CEO.
Yeah.
He doesn't care about who's CEO. He cares about whether or not he's getting fired.
Yeah, right.
The whole series revolves around the fact that Tom is not one of the kids. So his character's drive is not toward do I take over? It's do I get to be involved at all?
Right.
You know? Do I get to feed my family or feed myself basically? And so he technically is. He's the one that didn't care about being CEO. He gets the job.
Yep.
And the three Fredos that cared about this and that and everything else, none of them win.
I found a lot of I don't think they were deliberate, but I found a lot of Godfather parallels.
Well, it's a
back.
business.
And I think like the way that Shiv and Tom end in that car was very again Michael and Kay.
Sure.
Kind of that weird relationship in there where there's a lot of tension. Kendall, let's talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's what I loved about this season is after every episode I think we picked someone different who we thought was going to win. And I think after last episode you asked me and I said Kendall. I said it was going to be about Kendall becoming his father. He did become his father.
Literally with his bodyguard walking behind him.
But he just didn't have the biggest aspect of being his father, and that's the company.
Mm-hmm.
What'd you think of this scene? I thought it was a great callback to Logan walking in the park by himself.
Yep.
With Colin.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you said to me you thought when Tom and Shiv were going to pull out of that.
Oh, I said it on the live stream. You did watch the live stream, right? Good,
good.
Good.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's
that
what I heard. Yeah.
That would have been so good.
I know.
I mean, I'm happy. Listen. Really quick. Let me just clarify.
Yeah.
I'm happy that didn't happen.
No.
Okay. But it would have been dope if that happened.
I think if Kendall killed himself at the end of this episode and that's where we left the series, that'd be a tough way to end it. You know what I'm saying?
Which is what. So just to go off of what you texted me about him jumping in the water. So Jeremy Strong said...
Yeah, let's talk about that. Yeah,
Jeremy Strong said that, they did multiple takes of this walking through the thing, and that there's like a little guardrail there. And in one of the takes, he gets over the guardrail, and then the bodyguard guy runs up to him and stops him from going over. So he doesn't actually complete the objective there.
Yeah.
But I like that he just sits on the bench. I think it would have been interesting. I felt, I feel like part of the reason I wanted him to fall on Tom's car as it's pulling out was because I don't feel like there was enough. Hear me out. I feel like there wasn't enough drama in the episode. There was no. It was almost. This is me. This is me who bitches about things not being realistic all the time, and then me wanting something to not be realistic. So I'm not trying to be a hypocrite here, but it was too real in the sense that they just lost and everybody just kind of goes home.
I don't know. I thought the
nothing
drama
happened.
I thought the drama with Shiv bringing up Kendall killing that kid. I thought the drama with Kendall going to gouge Roman's eyes out because he attacked his kids.
But what would have happened if Kendall had gone through with it, and then you have someone like Tom who told Shiv that she basically killed her father, right? And then she actually kills her brother, and then she would have killed two people.
But to me, if that happened, we'd be it'd be too much. I think we'd get lifted out.
Of course it would.
Yeah,
I would be this is ridiculous. I don't know, dude. I just think it would be a kind of a funny thing.
I like when a show leaves you wondering what's next. You know what I'm saying? And I do like that we don't know what Kendall was thinking when he sat down on that bench. What do you think? Let's pretend that this continues forward.
Oh,
does he kill himself?
If he does, it's through drugs and alcohol, on
right.
accident.
I agree. I don't think he jumps off a building or anything. No.
Shiv mentions let's go back for I'm sorry, we're jumping all over the place here, but Shiv did mention when they were sitting there discussing when it's first confirmed to her that she's not going to be CEO. She goes, so the 100?
Yeah.
So, I mean, they could.
Maybe.
They could. They're going to need something. They're going to get bored. I think Roman's out. Yeah. Roman's done. He's going to be Mr. Playboy Mansion.
I think Kendall and Shiv are, she's dead to him.
That's fair. Maybe he tries to start something.
Maybe.
Who knows?
The question is, does he have the wherewithal to do it at this stage?
Yeah. God, it's so funny. So funny. I don't think Logan would have lost. When you say things like, and I know you don't mean literally, but when you say things like, Kendall became his father, Logan was smarter than Matson.
Well, what did Tom
Matson's
say
not
to Logan?
Stupid.
What did Tom say to Kendall in season 2 or 3 said when Kendall asked him to be on his side, he said, I want to or whatever, but your father's never gotten fucked and you get fucked all the time.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, and it's funny because I sent you that TikTok a few days before this came out of that girl explaining the theory behind Tom's name and the triple play thing.
Yeah.
Do you think, found that interesting.
And someone asked me about that in the chat too, the trip.
So you clearly didn't watch
play.
my TikTok.
I did.
Yeah.
At the time that you sent it to me, I thought it was bullshit.
Right.
Because listen, there's so much symbolism in the show.
Well, Shiv.
The names of each episode are are lines from a poem.
Yep.
That's
so the thing, though. Did you hear that too? Is it might have been in that article with Jeremy Strong, but the author of the poem that this was titled after killed himself by jumping into a frozen river.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like, come on, man. There's so much, there's so many layers. I think it's really just from a filmmaking standpoint, and this will be interesting for you as a writer too. It just goes to show how much research needs. Jesse Armstrong said so basically, if you haven't seen it or listened to it, you should definitely go listen to the podcast. It's in 2 parts for this finale. Jesse Armstrong and Jeremy Strong are in the first one, and Lucas Matson, Skarsgård, is in the first part.
Yeah.
And then Mark Mylod is in the second part. It's
you should watch that other with the Vanity Fair one.
Oh, I will.
Oh yeah, that's really good.
With Mark Mylod. Yeah, I did. We said he's crying every day.
Yeah.
Drama directors, you know how we are, dramatic. So but the interesting thing to me with that, with Jesse Armstrong, said that he wrote something that was actually based around the Murdochs originally, like a bio series that was going to be like this, but it was really based around Fox News. And he said he wrote it years ago, and he hadn't done enough research, and it just didn't land well.
Right.
And so he threw it away, or put it on the back burner, and then came back to it 11 years later or something, and developed it into this.
Yeah, sometimes it's better to just.
But there's no way that let's say you came to me with an idea we're gonna make a web series, or we're gonna make a movie about this thing, and you had done no research on the subject of business or anything like that. Right. For the funeral scene, they hired a celebrity funeral director to come in. The people that carry the casket, they're celebrity funeral pallbearers.
Yeah, I can't imagine how many consultants Jesse Armstrong had on the business aspects.
But what I'm saying is, you can't you can't even write a story about these characters if you don't know anything about business.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you don't know what Logan Roy's day-to-day is going to be like, you can't make him a character.
Exactly, yeah.
It just goes to show how many. I can't even imagine the research. It's what his Google history looks like. I can't even imagine the amount of time spent just before. Another one is J.K. Rowling with Harry Potter. She developed the entire world. And I know this has nothing to do with this, but hear me out. She developed the whole world of Harry Potter, the storyline, every spell, everything for 5 years before she started writing the first book.
Yep.
That's insane.
Yeah.
The amount of research. That's what makes something really good, in my opinion. When you see these movies that or TV shows or whatever that just get pumped out with some room of you have a showrunner and 10 writers around the table, and nothing really lands, and it feels really cheap. It's because no fucking research goes into this stuff. And not to get overly over the top with it, but when you really care, when you're passionate about a story and a character, and you take the time to develop the backstory, that's why it's so important. You have to know every aspect of their lives. It's super cool to me. I don't know. Tom's mother is a lawyer from Cincinnati or whatever it is. He's from Ohio. These references, the polio thing, the ship coming across. That's so cool. You have to have those things because they might get referenced later.
Yep. And
they help the actor with the portrayal of the character. I don't know. It's super cool.
And Jeremy Strong said that Jesse Armstrong gave him Kendall's entire backstory in season 1. Yeah. About the thing Logan telling him that he'd be at 7 years old. He knew that in season 1.
Okay, I do have to say this because I did technically promise that I would tell this story. I'm going to give a short version of it. Yeah. But speaking of Jeremy Strong and just the way that he lives as the character on set and everything else. I said that I dealt with a similar situation. No names.
Yeah.
But you were there too
Uh-huh.
on that set, where a character. It's how do you feel about actors living as their character, or like wanting to be
I've
called?
never worked with it, so I don't know.
If you have if on set, like, how would you feel if there was a character? Let's say you directed. Let's say you were Mark Mylod,
Yeah.
and if Jeremy Strong was like, "Yeah, just call me Kendall," like while we're and like refer to him as Kendall and everything.
I don't know. I mean, listen,
It's a pain in the ass, man. It's a pain in the
as long as you're
ass.
not like causing like issues with people. Do
you
whatever
got-
works. But
Yeah, I guess.
if you're like Jared Leto sending like dead rats to people, like when you're playing the Joker, that's crossing a line. But yeah,
Sure.
I mean, listen, he's got one of the most iconic TV performances ever now. So
Yeah.
and speaking of that, I think we should leave it on this question, Nick. Where does this rank all time for you dramas?
I would say number 2.
Behind Sopranos?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for The Sopranos, we wouldn't have this show. That's the bottom line.
Yeah. No.
It was the first.
Yes.
1996. First TV show ever to be filmed like a movie on film in a cinematic universe where there was no censorship. They said, fuck the FCC.
Yep.
They said that we're going to tell the story legit. If they had done The Sopranos on cable TV, how boring of a show would that have been?
Right. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, to me, my 4 in no particular order.
No, you can't do that. You can't do that.
I can't
You can't
rank
do
them.
that.
I
You
can't
have to.
rank
You
them.
just
I
said,
can't
where does it
rank
rank to me? That's
I
the
don't know.
question. You have to rank them,
It's
dude.
in my top 4.
You suck
Along with
ass.
Sopranos, Breaking Bad, and Game of Thrones.
Oh, yes. Breaking Bad doesn't even rank for
See,
me.
Game of Thrones
Doesn't even rank for me. It doesn't even rank for me because it
It's
started
just-
off as a cable bullshit cheap show.
That's your weirdest take that I'll never
It's
agree
a show
with.
about meth
Yeah.
that was done on cable.
So what? It gets pretty fucking dark.
Not dark enough. Have you ever met a
I don't
meth
think
head?
it-
Have you ever seen a documentary, like a
No.
Vice documentary on meth?
No.
That's why it says. That's why it ranks for you.
But it wasn't about the people on meth. It was about people making meth.
Which also was not realistic at all. Sopranos is realistic. This is realistic.
You made meth before, Nick?
No, dude. I'm saying if you go watch anything with like drug, I mean, it's like these people. It's like
You're not going to turn me away from Breaking Bad.
I'm not
no matter
trying
what
to turn
say.
you away. I'm saying that it just doesn't even over like Game of Thrones. I don't know.
Yeah, because the way Game of Thrones end the last 2 seasons really soured.
And I don't
me.
even dislike Breaking Bad. I'm not a
Yeah.
fan.
No,
fan.
listen to me.
It's not my top
season
4.
Season 4 of Game of Thrones at its height is my favorite TV ever. Easy.
And I'm not going to put House of the Dragon
No, not yet. It's
in.
too early.
It's too early. I think it was a very well done season, but
Yeah.
it doesn't even rank for me yet.
Yep.
I think that Sopranos, Succession,
Peaky Blinders is up there for me.
Peaky Blinders is definitely in the top 10. I don't know where necessarily where I would put it.
Yeah.
Breaking Bad's probably in my top 10. It's not even top 4 though. I don't
Mhm.
think.
Better Call Saul was great.
But yeah, that's a House of the Dragon to me, only because it's a knockoff of or a spin-off of Breaking Bad. So like if they did a Sopranos spin-off,
Interesting.
I don't care how good it is. I'd be like, yeah,
Oh, they
whatever.
did.
And it was bad. It was fucking horrible. Yeah.
but-
No,
yeah.
but yeah, I don't season 1 of the
True Detective.
that ranks in
Yeah,
there.
see, I keep those in isolation, the limited series type anthologies.
Yep. Hollywood is another limited series,
Mm-hmm.
1 season I thought was very, very good.
Yeah.
Very well done. Yeah, man. I don't know. I think this was all in all, the fact that we're able to sit here and talk about it in a
Yes.
positive way, and I'm not angry. And and the thing is, even though I feel like there were certain things that were overdone or underdone or under talked about or left loose hanging or whatever it is, I don't have an answer to the question. What would you do differently? I don't have an answer. So to me, that means it was perfect.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like I feel like, yes, it would have been cooler if they had left the Tom thing, if they had just dropped one more bomb, and then we find out that it's Tom afterward, and even Greg cut to Greg's face, and he's like, "What?" Like,
Yeah.
that would have been so friggin' cool.
Yeah.
But other than that,
Yeah.
I have no qualms.
I mean, this was a great show. I love talking about it. I'm sad it's over. I'll probably rewatch it when the dust settles. But now we wait. Now we wait for the next big show to take over. Something always comes in, but we never know what it's going to be. So
The
we
Idol.
shall see. Oh, yeah. We shall see. Well, guys, thank you for watching. What camera should I
Small
look?
one.
This
right
one.
there. Yeah.
Thanks for watching, guys. As always, the Movie Mob podcast drops every Friday at 6 p.m. Leave a comment down below. Let us know what you thought of Succession, all the other topics. Ask some questions. We'll answer them next week. Like, comment, subscribe. It helps out the channel a lot, guys. Thank you for all the support. We'll see you next week. How you doing?